Welcome to another episode of Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, and today we continue on our 6th installment of our in-depth character review sessions, where today we review the Stormtrooper. With Empire characters starting to get some attention from the developers after the release of Palpatine, some are wondering who they should farm due to the fact that Empire characters are starting to get some attention and Rogue One is shortly around the corner. So let's go ahead and pull up the Hall of Fame ranking table and see where we stand so far. In our last video, we looked at Kylo Ren, a character that a lot of you requested, and we placed him in the Padawan category. Today, we are going to look at Stormtrooper, and where will he fall? We still have one section open that has been unclaimed. Will he claim that territory? You will soon find out. So let's go ahead and talk about the history of the Stormtrooper. And in Star Wars, the Stormtrooper was the ultimate evolution of the clone troopers, which followed after Order 66 had been executed. And they possessed the loyalty beyond anything imaginable for the Empire. Upon the establishment of the Imperial Empire and the end of the Clone Wars, Stormtroopers were sent across the galaxy to settle remaining separatist worlds by putting them in line. Later, as the Galactic Empire saw its fall, variants of the Stormtrooper and their training would exist under the new organization known as the First Order. And in Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, we see some element of loyalty in the Stormtrooper, where they are willing to put themselves on the front line in order to serve the Empire and its will. So like we always start with these videos, how do we unlock this character? Well, fortunately, you can actually get him from a wide variety of ways. One is through Chromium packs. If you want to roll the dice, you can go ahead and get shards of him, and he's a frequent character that can drop there. Another way is through Bronzium packs. Bronzium packs are free packs you get every single day. You get 5 for free, and then you can use ally points, and you often do see Stormtrooper in there. But the more frequent ways to farm this character would be to go to the Cantina shipments, where you can exchange 400 Cantina currency for 5 shards of Stormtrooper, or you can participate in the 2 light side hard battles, as well as the 1 hard dark side battle. But let's get into the good part of the review, where we talk about the stats of the characters before mods are even integrated. And for the pros, I'm really stretching here, but he has 2 pros here, but they're not anything crazy good here. He's roughly in the top 25% for armor penetration, with General Grievous being at 105, Chief Nebit barely hitting hard at 5, and the average armor penetration in this game is 39. And we can see Stormtrooper at 47. Now the next thing, which I don't mention for every single character, but for this character it is somewhat relevant, and that is the Potency. One of Stormtrooper's abilities is to remove turn meter, and you need to know how good his Potency is, and oddly enough, he actually has some good Potency. He's in the top 25%, or more specifically, number 22 in Potency, with Dooku being at 75%, Sid and Darth Maul being at 0%. We see the average Potency in this game at 28%, and Stormtrooper is at 38%. And outside of that, there really aren't any other pros to this character. So moving on to the OK section, there really isn't much here, except that he has OK, mediocre, basic damage. And essentially, General Grievous, we know, is the monster. His basic attack can hit about 6,091, the Gamorrean Guard having the weakest basic attack at 1,636. The average basic attack in this game is 3,849, and Stormtrooper is just slightly above this at 3,943, which puts him at number 41 for maximum basic damage. So again, nothing crazy, he's just very so slightly above the average. And in terms of cons, he's virtually bad in everything else in this game. He's number 52 in health, so Royal Guard has 26,798 like a proper tank should have. Darth Maul is at 9,983, and the average health in this game is 15,511. And Stormtrooper is at 14,258, which is the lowest health in the game for a tank, which is pretty bad. A tank's job is to make sure he can take a lot of punches, and in here he is not going to satisfy that requirement. The next thing, protection. He is number 58 in protection. Sun Fac is at 30,032. Darth Maul yet again at 8,659. The average protection in this game is 15,821. And Stormtrooper is at a very, very, very low 12,818, which, kind of bouncing off the last point, this is the lowest protection for a tank in the game. Next, what about speed? Well, can he get off the starting line and taunt really quick for your team? The quick answer is no. Rey and Leia, they're at 164 speed, Jedi Knight Guardian being the slowest at 85, Average speed in this game is 122, and Stormtrooper, sitting at number 62 in speed, is at 113 speed. So comparing him to the other tanks, unfortunately or fortunately, he is not the slowest tank in the game. So he is slightly faster than characters like Old Ben and so on. Well, what about maximum damage in the game? Well, we just talked about his maximum basic damage, and he's just slightly above the average. But when looking at everyone's damage, and the fact that Stormtrooper only has one attack, we find that he is number 65 in maximum damage output. Rey, being the queen, at 10,087. The Rebel Pathfinder, the character of the month, is at 2,226. The average in this game is 4,747, and Stormtrooper is at 3,943. So that puts him at number 65, so well below the average. What about armor? I mean, one of the purposes of a tank is to be able to take a lot of punches and reduce the damage that's brought to you. We find that in the armor department that he is also slacking here. Old Ben has 393 armor, Palpatine, being the frail one, at 120. The average in this game is 204, and Stormtrooper is 175, making him number 64. And that is the lowest armor of all the tanks in the game. And lastly, one of the other purposes of a tank is to be able to resist many debuffs and all that fun stuff. And when we look at Tenacity, he is below average for Tenacity. The B2 Super Battle Droid is the most tenacious one at 39%, Ahsoka Tano at 17%. The average is 27%, and we find Stormtrooper below that average at 24%. So he does have a higher likelihood of being stunned, being killed off faster essentially. He won't be helping your team that much. So what about his kit? Fine, we see that his stats are pretty bad. He doesn't have too much going for him, but what about his kit? Sometimes the kit can redeem a character. And in his first ability, known as Imperial Marksmanship, it's nothing really awesome. He just deals damage, and this damage has a high damage variance. And when they say high damage variance, it really does have a high damage variance. The data says it does roughly 3,569 to 3,943, but oftentimes you see him hit under 2,000 and sometimes beyond 5,000 due to the nature of the random variance and the opponent he hits. So a lot at stake here. He's not going to be hitting consistently, but occasionally he might get some miraculous shot off. The next thing, which is called Stormtrooper Bravado. Now, the good thing is he can taunt for 3 turns, which is pretty nice, and at the same time, he can grant defense up for 3 turns to all Empire allies, so far it looks good. And he also has a 50% chance to remove 10% turn meter from each enemy whenever he is damaged while taunting. So in essence, he is trying to be a Stormtrooper Han, but he's not nearly as good for various reasons that we've already covered so far. And the other problem is that he's not going to be taunting in time because he's very slow and he will die off quickly. And the taunt of 3 turns would serve better on many other characters in this game. And Stormtrooper, unfortunately, his 3-turn taunt does not come in handy for those reasons. The next thing, which people think is actually a good thing, but when you look at the data, it's nothing too crazy. His unique ability, it's called Wall of Stormtroopers, and he gains 13% defense for each living Empire ally in the game. So it sounds great. But a couple problems with this. Even though that Empire characters are slowly becoming more viable, this seems somewhat appealing. However, a full Empire lineup is not the most viable squad as of now, and he has very, very, very low defense to begin with, as we talked about before. So although he's getting this defense buff, it's really only multiplying a very low number to begin with. So if anything, at most, it might be okay defense, but still, due to the slow speed, low health, low protection, this defense buff is not going to help him. So what about the gear requirements? Well, we so far know that his stats aren't crazy, his kit is kind of bland. What about the gear requirements? If you really need to get him for the Empire mod challenges, here's what you need to know. He's actually above the average for raid gear, and his maximum gear level is 10. So he needs 4 pieces of raid gear here, and he needs the Mark 6 Nubian design tech, he needs 2 Mark 7 Nubian security scanners, and he needs 1 Mark 5 fusion furnace. And as I said, this is above the average. The average is usually 2 to 3, and for a character like this, it's kind of sad to see that he also needs a lot of raid gear compared to many other great characters in this game. But moving on to purple gear, we find that he is above the average requirement here. The data shows that Sun Fac is at 1,100 purple gear. Palpatine, he's at 260, which is the best in the game. The average purple gear required is 720, and Stormtrooper is above this average at 830. And in terms of popular gear, he needs a wide assortment of gear, but in terms of a single most popular piece of purple gear, The most frequent one is the Mark 6 hypo syringes. So when we move on to blue, green, and white gear, he does have something going for him. In blue, he is below the average, which is nothing too crazy, but it's still nice to know. And then in terms of green and white gear, nothing too crazy to report here, except that you need to know he is above the average. But again, green and white gear is pretty easy to come across. So let's get into the more opinionated a part of this review, where I kind of give you some tips, recommendations, and as well as mod setups. And tip number one is do not use him. Do not use him whatsoever. He doesn't fit anywhere really in this game. Even in an all Empire lineup, he's pretty bad. He doesn't taunt fast enough. He can get knocked out pretty fast. When I used him, sometimes Rey can just knock him out in one clean sweep. And there are plenty of other characters that should take priority over him, and many other Empire characters that are better suited than him and are easily farmable as well. We are in a period where Empire characters are pretty well accessible, and Stormtrooper is definitely someone that you should not really look into in an era where we have Royal Guard, Emperor Palpatine, Darth Vader, Grand Moff Tarkin, and so on and so forth. So in terms of mods, it's kind of hard here because he doesn't have much going for him. He's pretty much the bottom of a lot of things, which it's kind of hard to fix that because mods are only meant to address one particular section or maybe two. So when we look at him, if you need my recommendation, if you really need Stormtrooper and you want to try to make him mildly decent, go ahead, probably get health mods, which is kind of sad to say for a tank, and also get some defense mods because he has low defense, and with the multiplication of his unique ability where he can increase his defense, it may come in handy. So let's go ahead and summarize this before we go ahead and toss him on our ranking table. So for one of the most iconic units in the Star Wars universe, he is very underwhelming, and at times one forgets he's even part of the battle because even his allies run circles around him. Low speed, low health, protection, armor, and so forth are just bad combinations to have for any character, yet alone a tank. Unlike some other previously mentioned characters, this character needs more than a slight tweak to be even usable. Even his passive abilities do not serve much of a benefit for himself nor his team. So with all that said, let's bring up the Hall of Fame and see where Stormtrooper will land. And last time, as we mentioned, Kylo Ren fell in the Padawan category, and today, Stormtrooper, we are going to put him in the Youngling category. So he is going to be at the bottom of the list. He is one of the bottom tier characters in this game, and I've tried using him extensively. I tried giving him a purpose in this game when I first maxed him out, and unfortunately he does not have a good place in this game. Many other characters take his place, between even Empire characters and more important characters like Stormtrooper Han, Poe, Royal Guard. All those great characters are way better than Stormtrooper. And the purpose of this review today was to help you guys define what is the Youngling category, because a lot of you are asking, what defines a Youngling? Why is this character not in the Youngling? Well, this character is going to help serve as the bottom foot of our table, so you guys can go ahead in future videos and understand why a character may be in Youngling or may not be in Youngling, and so on and so forth. So there you have it. We have defined the whole table from Grandmaster to Youngling, and now we are going to fill all the spaces in between going forward. So if there's a particular character you would like to see, feel free to comment down below. I already have plenty of characters that are highly requested, but if one really sticks out among all of you, I will go ahead and bump them to the top of the list. And also, as a reminder, we have a Discord chat open for all the fans, so you can talk amongst yourself, talk with my guild, chat with me. We would love to have you there. So if you're interested, in the section down below, there will be a link for you to join. But once again, guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you're learning something out of these in-depth review series, and I hope this new category of Youngling makes more sense to you. So leave a like, comment down below, subscribe, share this video if you can, and we'll talk again later. Peace out.